It's time for On Target Radio, Chicagoland's only radio show dedicated to educating, entertaining, and discussion of firearms, legislation, and your Second Amendment rights. Presented in part by the Illinois State Rifle Association, Illinois Gun Works, Safer USA, and Chuck's Gun Shop. Here's your host, firearm instructor, educator, and enthusiastic Second Amendment proponent, David Lombardo.
Welcome to On Target Radio, Chicago's voice for the Second Amendment. I'm your host, David Lombardo, and Tim Dalan, our co-host, who has made it back to the microphone sitting across the council from me. Say hello, Timmy.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. You were the one that looked a little harried over there.
Yeah, well, I got to apologize to everybody who might have listened to the end of the Pinker show. I wasn't ready for that and wasn't sure what I was supposed to do, and I pretty much fumbled and bumbled through that.
Tim, you step into the big shoes, you got to carry a big stick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mom and Dad listening tonight?
Yeah, I don't. You know what? I'm not really sure. I think they're on their way. They're heading south. They're heading on their way to Arizona, I believe. I can't remember if they were leaving tonight or tomorrow.
See, that's the only audience we know we have.
I have that. My brother listens in Okinawa, and I have that other friend overseas that listens, and I think Andy, my friend in Joliet. So we got maybe 5 or 6.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
My wife doesn't listen though.
No, I know.
No.
Yeah, so she's a lot smarter than you give her credit.
Right now,
for.
she's not sure where I'm at.
Yeah. Well,
probably.
Anyway, yeah. Well, we probably should do the show. At this point, why not? So anyway, this is On Target Radio, and tonight's guests, we're going to be talking about upland hunting.
Yes, we are.
But speaking of guests.
And speaking of guests.
Our 11th week in a row.
11th week in a row. I'm ready.
11th week. We would like to invite Chicago's Mayor Rahm Emanuel to come on our show and discuss his gun control views.
I would really like to hear that. I'm sure he has something pithy to say.
I'm sure there's plenty of pith in there for us.
I'm sure there are other things in there, too.
Well, anyway. But our listeners will have an opportunity to call in and question our guests this evening. At 312-642-5600, 312-642-5600, or go to Facebook, like On Target Radio, and you can ask questions there, and we'll be happy to answer them. This evening, in our third segment, Don Moran will be on, President of the Illinois State Rifle Association. I'm sorry, Richard Pearson tonight, right?
Yes, Richard will be on.
Richard. And so that's coming up. Rocky, of course, my faithful hunting dog.
Oh, he was a great dog.
Shed this earthly coil about 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, something like that. But he was my hunting dog. And Rocky was a golden retriever and lived well beyond probably the number of years he should have. He had been 15 yesterday. So he lived a long life. But he was a great hunting dog. And he used to upland hunt with me, and he waterfowl hunted, and we would go fishing together. And I miss him. He's a good dog. But the whole concept of going into the field is just a lot of it is about the dog. And so this evening, we're going to talk about upland hunting and what it is, and we're going to talk about having a hunting dog and what goes into that. And it's going to be, I think, very interesting. We have 3 guests in the studio this evening. We got Nancy Donaldson, Mike Jacobson, and Bryan Camper. Bryan Camper grew up around neighbors who were hunters and frequently took him along on hunting trips. He found that he loved hunting, and it became his lifelong passion. And by the time he was 15, he'd bought his first bird dog and had begun raising hunting dogs. He was so dedicated to the sport that he had already picked out the name of the future kennel he would have, Swift Rock Kennels. After about 10 years of hunting as a hobby, Bryan managed to turn his avocation into an occupation and now operates Swift Rock Kennels, where he breeds, raises, and trains much sought-after pointers. Bryan, thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Nancy Donaldson, a good friend. You notice I didn't say an old friend. I said a good friend. I'm not going to lay any traps that I can walk into, Nancy. Nancy Donaldson started shooting 11 years ago and discovered trap and skeet were designed to refine wing shooting technique. On her first hunt, she learned the incomparable joy of walking through fields and wood, watching dogs that are bred and trained to hunt. Her love of hunting led her to learn about the importance of hunting to wildlife management and its important role in environmental conservation. Today, a dedicated outdoors woman, an avid bow, shotgun, and rifle hunter, she's hunted white-tailed deer, doves, bear, coyote, upland birds, waterfowl, bobcat, boar, and javelina. Nancy, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Dave.
And Mike Jacobson. Mike started hunting pheasants and rabbits over 40 years ago with family and friends in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. Try that today. And has operated Hilltop Meadows Hunt Club in Fulton, Illinois, where he shares the joy of upland hunting with his guests. Mike, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Dave.
And you guys, that was a pretty long ride. Fulton, that's pretty. How far is that? A couple hours?
About 2 hours.
Almost Iowa?
Almost. 4 miles from the Mississippi River.
There you go. So, and that's actually pretty prime hunting land out there.
It's beautiful out there.
So I think we should start with just a definition. What exactly, we're using the term upland hunting. Somebody want to tackle what is upland hunting and what other types of hunting are there?
I think in this area of the country, we always consider upland hunting pheasants, quail, partridge. Those are the birds you're going to find in this area. It's basically any game bird that's non-waterfowl is considered upland. But those are the big three in this area.
Okay. So are those migratory?
No.
They're not. They're not migratory. Migratory would be waterfowl like duck and geese and that sort of thing.
Correct.
Okay. And then what do we call deer hunting or elk or?
Big game hunting.
So
big
basically
game.
you got three major categories then?
Yes.
Okay. So tonight we'll be talking about upland and we'll be talking about bird hunting. One of the questions I'd like to get out of the way right away is I used to hear this all the time. Is it safe? You got people walking around the field with guns. We know, those of us in this room know, that the actual accident rate in hunting is I think it's even less than boating or pretty much anything else. Weigh in on that one.
Completely safe if everybody follows the rules. At our club, everybody has a safety talk before they hunt, and they must follow those strictly, otherwise hunt's over. So everybody follows the rules. It's just a good time out in the field, and we've never had an accident or anything close to it.
Yeah, Dave, and I've hunted in lots of different places. In every place that I have been, there's a safety discussion before you ever hunt. There's specific procedures that you go through when you're walking through the fields, and there are etiquettes or conventions everybody learns.
And that's something that last week we talked about Hunter Ed. And that's part of what Hunter Ed is about. Anyone born on or after January 1st, 1980, younger people have to go through hunter education or they can't even get a hunting license. And it's not you buy a gun and go out and just start shooting. I mean, there's a structure to the whole thing. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
And yet another reason why it's a good idea to go and hunt with a guide, which you provide guide service also, right?
Yes, and the guide's responsible for keeping an eye on all the hunters out there, make sure everybody is safe at all times.
You're listening to AM 560 WIND. This is On Target Radio. We're talking about upland hunting this evening. We've got about 3 minutes left in this segment. Where can you hunt in Illinois, and what can you hunt in Illinois?
There's a lot of hunting clubs around. Mike provides good service. There's some public areas. There's a lot of bird hunting, a lot of deer hunting, turkey hunting.
Can you just go anywhere and start hunting?
No, you cannot. You have to ask permission several places, or like I say, you can go to a hunting club, see what they provide, that type of thing.
Now, the state of Illinois does provide public land that you can hunt on, right?
Yes.
That's correct. And they also breed and place birds for upland hunting specifically.
And there's areas in this part of Illinois, the northern half of Illinois, there's a number of those areas.
Chain of Lake State Park.
Des Plaines.
Des Plaines Conservation Area.
Green River.
Yeah, Green River.
Iroquois,
yeah. You go on the DNR website, and they'll have an entire list for you and permit applications.
DNR being the Illinois Department of Natural Resources.
Correct.
Right. When you go hunting, there's a pretty, well, I would think, expensive amount of equipment because the shotgun alone is not inexpensive. We don't rifle hunt in Illinois. Well, we don't rifle hunt like deer or anything. Now, you can rifle hunt predators in Illinois.
That's correct. Varmints, yes.
Yeah, varmints, but not deer or anything like that. Upland hunting, of course, is shotgun. So what does it take to get into upland hunting? We got just about 30 seconds here. What basic equipment do we need?
Obviously need a gun, and you don't have to start with anything very expensive. Pump gun that you can get for $300-400 would be adequate. If you really get into the sport, obviously you're going to move up the line a little bit, get a nice over-under side-by-side, work your way up there. That's basically what you need for upland hunting. Good pair of boots, pair of chaps, blaze orange, or vivid orange, I think the state calls it now, upper garment and hat. Safety glasses, earplugs.
And that's your basic, just sort of your basic entry in terms of equipment.
Yeah.
Shotguns, you can get a good shotgun, I mean, good usable shotgun for what, about $250?
A couple $100.
Yeah. So it's accessible. And Jeff just, what did he pay for that shotgun that he bought?
Oh, he got a good deal on that. It was half price. I think he paid like $2,500
Yeah.
for it.
So, I mean, you can spend some money. Okay, we're going to be back after these messages. We're talking about upland hunting, and this is On Target Radio.
Attention firearm owners or those considering exercising your Second Amendment rights. I want to tell you about Illinois Gun Works. From void services and new firearm purchases to gunsmith services and an indoor shooting range, Don and his staff will assist you without attitude or pressure. Need training? Illinois Gun Works' popular Illinois Responsible Firearm Owners class teaches you the regulations to legally defend yourself, own, and transport your firearm. There's a required class for a Chicago firearm permit and popular new shooter familiarization class, including one for women. Now, I took this class and urge you to reserve your spot fast for this fun class. Illinois Gun Works offers a wide selection of training and certification classes, from security work to those just considering ownership, even special group classes. Illinois Gun Works, Chicagoland's full-service firearm headquarters, is located on Grand Avenue, just a block west of Harlem in Elmwood Park. Call 708-452-0040 or visit IllinoisGunWorks.com. That's 708-452-0040.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM 560 WIND with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more. To participate, call the studio at 312-642-5600.
We're back with more On Target Radio. We are talking about upland hunting today, and we have on the line Bill Jones from Yorkville. Bill, you have a question.
Yeah, hi, Dave and Nancy. What's the difference between a quail and a chucker?
There are two different birds, Bill.
Wow, Dave, thank you so much. I can hang up now.
But
one of them slightly smaller than the other one.
Okay.
And the chucker is a partridge.
Okay, and can you hunt both of those in Illinois?
You can, but they're not both native to Illinois.
Would they be catch and release? I mean, a release someplace?
Catch and release hunting. Thank you, William.
Quail are native in certain parts of Illinois, but chucker would have to be something that was brought in. Okay. Mike could probably answer that better since...
Mike is sitting there in shock.
Sure.
Chucker is a partridge and not native to this area, but a lot of them are released on the game preserves. It's a good bird to hunt. They're a lot of fun. It's bigger than a quail, very good eating, and it is the national bird of Pakistan, which is where they come from originally.
Okay.
Only on Target Radio would you learn that is the national bird of Pakistan.
They also fly up real differently.
Fry up?
Fly.
Oh, fly.
They fry up differently, too.
They may fry up differently, too. Thank you, William. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you. You're listening to On Target Radio, AM 560 and WIND. We are talking this evening about upland hunting. And when we before the break, we started to talk about equipment. Where do you get equipment? And how do you know what the right equipment is for you?
Any sporting goods store, usually sells shotguns, clothing. I would say boots are probably your most important thing. You want a very comfortable pair of boots.
Because you're out with upland, you're out
all
walking.
day. Yep.
It could be wet, could be cold, could be almost anything.
Yes.
I think anybody new to the sport, we have a lot of people come out that are fairly new to the sport and they've not done a lot of shooting. So I always and we do shoot 5-stand sporting clays at my facility, and I do offer instruction. People should get very familiar with the firearm and shooting before they go out in the field. They're going to have a much better hunt, safer, a lot more fun, and they'll really enjoy it a lot better. That's where, like Nancy's at Aurora Sportsman's Club, something like that, where you can go shoot a lot, get some instruction.
And Nancy, how would you go about that? If you are not a hunter today, and you're not really a shooter, and this intrigues you, what would be the steps to get into it? You don't just go and buy a gun and show up at Mike's doorstep and start to hunt.
No, the first thing that I would do is I would become familiar with firearms in general. I don't think that you would go immediately to hunting if you've never handled a firearm. But once you have a good understanding of the firearm and safety practices, then I would go to a place like Mike's Place or some other hunting club where they will teach you how to safely hunt.
It's like a controlled environment.
Exactly. It's a controlled environment. You're taught what the proper methods are, how to have a courteous hunt with other people, how to be careful of the dogs, because with upland hunting, they're typically done with dogs. And you have to learn the proper distance between hunters, the proper way that your muzzle should be pointing, all those basic safety issues before you ever start.
Now, at Aurora Sportsman's Club, which we both belong to, there are a number of events that are held there that actually help you learn to be a hunter.
That's true. Actually, we did very recently host a group shoot that was specifically designed for people to learn some hunting skills. But again, what we discovered was, even though the group came asking to learn how to hunt, they really needed to learn how to handle a shotgun first.
And don't you and your husband, Pat, you teach?
We do.
Is that for members only?
No, it's not. It's for members or non-members.
And it was like really inexpensive.
It is rather inexpensive, yes. It depends on how many hours of training they would like and how many rounds of skeet or trap or sporting clays they want to shoot.
So basically the message that we're saying here is you want to get instruction. Take a class like an NRA basic shotgun class or some sort of orientation class. Trap, skeet, sporting clays, all those sorts of things are games that you can play that really, and it was you that even said it, are designed to help sharpen your skills for upland hunting or
That's
duck
right.
hunting, whatever. But
Sure. And the first time that Pat and I went out to Mike's, Mike wanted us to shoot 5-stand first so that he could see what our gun handling skills were, which I thought was very smart on his part to make sure we were safe shooters before we went walking through the fields.
and shooting over his dog.
Right.
And me.
Well, and there you go, self-preservation.
But the dog is worth more than I am.
Well, I don't know about that. Maybe not. I felt that way. I used to tell people that would go hunting with me, if you shoot over my dog, I'm not talking about shooting my dog. If you shoot over my dog, I'm going to shoot you. I mean, I was not being totally serious, but that's a real pithy issue about hunting dogs, particularly since hunting dogs get very excited. I mean, they really get cranked up when they're in the field, and they move around very quickly. Do you need to have a dog for upland hunting?
You don't need one, but it's nice to have one. Makes your job a lot easier. And talking about the safety with dogs, you really have to watch the low-flying birds and the shooting. When you're talking about the safety and how to handle a gun, it's just as important to handle it properly around the dogs also.
You're listening to On Target Radio, AM 560 WIND. We're talking about upland hunting. The issue about a dog is there are certain dogs that are literally bred to be hunting dogs, right?
Yes, there are. There's several of them. There's different types of upland hunting dogs, too. There's flushing dogs. There's pointing dogs. There's a lot of different background with all the different dogs.
Can any dog, can you just get a rescue mixed mutt, right? There we go. Mixed mutt and teach you to be a hunting dog?
You probably could. I would not. I would stick to something that's, made for that type of hunting, whether it's, upland hunting, any kind of hunting that you're doing, pointing dogs, that type of thing.
Because I know with like retrievers, because I've always been a big golden guy, but Goldens and Labs and all of those, they hunt instinctively. I mean, when you get them with a little puppy with no training at all, they hunt. The question is to get them to hunt for you.
Yes. It takes a lot of work to get them to hunt for you, but on the Labs and the Goldens, and there's several breeds out there, you have to get from the hunting stock, though. There's a lot of show breeds out there that have diluted the hunting abilities, so you have to watch what you're getting.
Which does bring up that interesting question. I used to encounter this with the Goldens in particular. They always referred to a hunting line of golden retriever and a show line. And I guess the show line is aimed towards conformity and...
It's conformations. They're usually bigger and a lot hairier. Your field dogs are usually more small and compact and can run all day. The bigger ones wear out so fast.
They're lean and mean.
Yep.
Yeah, the hunting dog is. I used to teach hunter ed years ago. And one of the sections, I developed my own 1-hour thing on, I call it Ethics of Having a Hunting Dog. There are people who, their dog's not part of their family. They put them in a kennel, they live outside, they have no real contact with the family whatsoever, other than they take them out and go hunting. I found, and maybe it's, just one person. But my dogs always lived in the house. They were like my buddies. He would hunt his heart out for me. That dog would do anything for me.
Yeah, a lot of them do. I mean, they're your hunting companion. They can be your best friend, or they can. A lot of people also do treat them like a machine, where they just use them just for hunting. Either way, you still have a lot of time in them. Either way you do it, they still need a lot of time and effort. But there's definitely nothing wrong with keeping it in the house and having it as a pet.
We've got about a minute here. If I wanted a hunting dog, how, first of all, would I choose what type of a dog?
Boy, that's a hard question. It just depends on your preference of whether you want a flushing dog.
I may not have a preference because I don't know.
You'd have to just do a lot of research on it, I guess, and figure out if that's really what you want to do and what would fit your lifestyle. All dogs aren't for everybody.
I would suggest that you go hunting with someone that does have a dog, or go to a club and have guided hunts, and you go with pointing dogs sometimes, flushing dogs, and you'll figure it out pretty quick what kind of dog you like.
I think the thing to it, getting a dog is very much like getting any firearm. You ought to test it first. If you're thinking of buying a gun, you ought to go and shoot the gun. Find out if it's actually a gun that works for you. And I think that's the same thing with a dog. If you go to somebody who has dogs, they guide and they have dogs, you get an opportunity to see what it's like with that type of a dog. There's a distinct difference between a pointer and a flusher. Retrievers are flushers, although, oddly, and we're going to have to take a break here, Rocky, after years of hunting, started pointing one day, and that was it. I was just shocked. All of a sudden I look at him, he's pointing. I'm going, where did that come from? I have no idea how that happened. But we'll be back in just a few minutes after these brief messages with more On Target Radio and Upland Hunting.
Chuck's Gun Shop proudly serves Riverdale and the surrounding communities. Conveniently located near the 142nd Street exit of the Bishop Ford Expressway, Chuck's Gun Shop is staffed by friendly, skilled professionals who will help guide a first-time shooter and assist you in obtaining a State of Illinois firearm owner's identification card. Chuck offers a full line of new handguns, rifles, shotguns, knives, and accessories. Chuck's also buys, sells, and trades used firearms and has a gunsmith on location that will provide expert care for your favorite firearm. Chuck's features a 6-lane indoor shooting range. Bring your own firearm or rent one from their wide assortment. If you live in Chicago, Chuck's Gun Shop offers the required Chicago firearms permit course. Chuck's Gun Shop is open Monday through Saturday and located at 14310 Indiana Avenue in Riverdale. Visit their website, chucksgunshop.net, or call 708-849-4455. That's 708-849-4455. Chuck's Gun Shop, serving Riverdale and surrounding communities.
Hi, I'm David Lombardo, host of On Target Radio. You're living proof that radio advertising reaches listeners. In the 2 years I've been advertising on AM 560 WIND, Safer USA grew from 300 students a year to over 1,200. By coupling our On Target Radio broadcast with our Facebook page, we found our audience is steadily growing, and in only 2 months it appears we've exceeded 5,000 listeners. Over 34% are in the age group 25 to 34, 26% are 35 to 44. We have listeners from Rockford to Western Michigan and Southern Wisconsin to St. Louis. Thanks to live streaming on the internet, we also have listeners as far away as Germany, Japan, and New Zealand. On Target Radio is offering low-cost sponsorship opportunities on Chicago's premier conservative talk radio station. Advertising on AM 560 WIND has worked for Safer USA. Let me show you how it can work for you. Call 815-744-5487. Join the On Target Radio team today at 815-744-5487.
We now return to On Target on AM 560 WIND. If you have a question or opinion, the studio line is 312-642-5600. Now, here's your host, firearm expert and educator, David Lombardo.
And we're back with more On Target Radio, and it is that magic moment when the Illinois State Rifle Association sponsors our very own Tim's Fighting Back session.
Yes, they do. This is Fighting Back, brought to you by the Illinois State Rifle Association. This past Tuesday, November 20th, a man in Houston, Texas, fatally shot a suspect and injured another during an attempted robbery about 10 p.m. A third suspect was still on the run as of Wednesday morning. Police arrived at the scene to find 2 men with gunshot wounds. Both were sent to the hospital in critical condition, where one of them later died. A police investigation revealed the alleged robbers approached 2 men in a parking lot at gunpoint and demanded their wallets and other valuables. The suspects/idiots found out they were at the wrong car and became a little agitated, pulled the pistol out, and raised the pistol up. The police stated that one of the complainants or victims had a concealed handgun license. He was able to obtain his pistol and defend himself and his friend. A witness said the third suspect managed to get away, but not before being hit by a passing car. Anybody say karma? When we heard like 6 gunshots, we ran outside. We saw a guy who was getting robbed, said one witness. One escaped, but he was hit by a car. Police are still looking for the third man. No charges were expected to be filed in the shooting, but the victim was taken away in a patrol car for questioning. Does anyone see a problem with this? This gentleman was fighting back. He was protecting himself in one of the very situations concealed carry was designed to be used. Now, there's some out there that would say he should just have allowed himself to be robbed. The robbers wouldn't really have shot him, would they? He just handed over his wallet and then they would have walked away. Really? He did what he should have done. He protected himself, the life of his friend, in a threatening situation. What do you think? This has been Fighting Back, brought to you by the Illinois State Rifle Association.
I think he poured a little bleach in that end of the gene pool.
Yes, he did.
He did indeed. And speaking of, no, actually, it's not pouring bleach in the gene pool, but we have on the line Richard Pearson. Richard, did he pour a little bleach in the gene pool?
Well, I think he did. And the other thing is that he let other people know who want to rob other people that maybe it's not such a hot idea.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, right.
What's
there was another one in Texas, was it last month or something, where this guy attacked a woman while delivering her child to school, and one of the people had violated the sacred rule, 1,000-foot rule, and had his concealed carry prevented this woman from being stabbed to death in front of all the kids at school in San Antonio.
See, it works as advertised. Richard, tell me. You have 3 minutes to tell us what's perking at the Illinois State Rifle Association.
Well, right now we're getting ready to go back to Springfield on Tuesday, and we'll have 2 veto sessions, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of this week, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week. And, of course, we'll be looking at Senate Bill 681, which is a mail-order ammo bill, and determining what to do with it because we have the governor's unconstitutional veto, which he rewrote the bill, which he can't do. He can take stuff out, but he can't put stuff in.
He totally changed it.
So, but what's the law got to do with Illinois anyway?
Exactly.
So we'll be working on that and trying to get that resurrected. And, of course, concealed carry is still alive. We're still waiting for the Shepard versus Madigan verdict, and that will determine what we do with that.
That seems like it's been out for quite a while. The Supremes heard that. How long ago now?
It's been out there for about, I've almost forgotten. I think it was June.
Yeah, I think it was around then.
So, and I think the court doesn't have any restrictions on time, but it certainly doesn't want to make the obvious decision, which is that a person has the right to defend themselves outside their home, which is what the bill is about. And if that happens, that forces the state of Illinois to deal with concealed carry in a much different light.
Now, if that happens, then that's by judicial fiat. How do you structurally make that work, since the legislature isn't the one that created it?
Well, the judge will say that people do have that right, and the best scenario is that we wind up with constitutional carry, which of course scares the heck out of all the anti-gunners. But my guess is there'll be caveats on it that says the state has to deal with this in some way. 2 things will happen. One, we will push our bill, which is 148, which requires a day's worth of training and so forth and so on. And the other side will push a bill which probably pretty well guts concealed carry and makes it a May issue, which makes it a political football in many counties.
Is that a likelihood of happening, this getting a May issue in Illinois?
Well, that's what they want to do. But when you get a May issue, you got to remember that it works like New York City. If you want a Bloomberg's buddies, you get it. If you're not, you don't.
Exactly. That's exactly what happens. The whole thing bodes poorly. We have about 30 seconds, but the whole thing bodes poorly from the standpoint that it's now a totally Democratic-controlled legislature and governorship.
Well, that's true, but that was true before. But the map, the state of Illinois is a victim of the Democratic map. Since there was no Republican governor to stop it, the Democratic map prevails.
Well,
and what's happened is it's a class in gerrymandering in any political science class in the United States or anywhere in the world, for that matter.
Okay, well, Richard, thank you very much for joining us again this week. Richard Pearson, Executive Director of the Illinois State Rifle Association. Thank you, my friend, and we'll have you back on again for more On Target Radio.
Thanks, Richard.
For 35 years, Pelcher's Shooters Supply has served the Lansing area. Pelcher's offers new and used firearms sales, appraisals, and gunsmithing service. Pelcher's new spacious showroom has hundreds of major brand firearms and supplies, and PelcherGuns.com features daily specials. Pelcher's Shooters Supply, on the corner of Ridge Road and Henry Street in downtown Lansing. Online at PelcherGuns.com or call 708-474-0662.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM 560 WIND with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more. To participate, call the studio at 312-642-5600.
And we're back with more On Target Radio. We're talking about upland hunting this evening, and our guests are Nancy Donaldson, Mike Jacobson, and Bryan Camper. We have a question on Facebook. Mike, Jason on Facebook asked, what happened to the bobwhite quail?
The same thing that's happened to all of our upland birds, loss of habitat. Farming practices have changed. In my area, in Whiteside County, we do have wild quail, we do have wild pheasant, but not numbers like we used to. It's in areas that are in Conservation Reserve Program and are specifically managed for upland game. So that's the whole key. If you have habitat, you'll have birds.
Now, when I first started hunting in either 71 or 72 after the Army, I was down at the University of Illinois. You could pheasant hunt anywhere. I mean, literally, there were pheasants everywhere. And then we went through a lot of years. You couldn't find a pheasant for anything. But I see some of them come. At Aurora Sportsman's Club, we have some wild pheasant out there, don't we?
Yes, we do. I just actually took one last week.
So are they coming back?
In areas where you have habitat. Weather is a big factor also. When we have severe winters, deep snow, very cold, you'll lose a lot of birds. Cold, wet springs are very tough for nesting conditions, and you'll lose some birds that way. But if you have the habitat, they will eventually recover and come back in good numbers. It's just the habitat's so fragmented. Quail need a lot of habitat, a lot of acres. Pheasant can survive better on small areas. Quail need a lot of habitat. So it's a tough. There's no easy solution to it with farming practices as they are today. Years ago, you could go to any farm and they had some brushy draws and fence rows, and you had some cover. Now, there's nothing. And once the crops come out and everything's chisel plowed and mowed, and you've got dirt. So there is no cover.
Haven't the turkeys come back quite a bit in the last couple of years? I just moved to Illinois in '94. Never saw a turkey. Saw one at a park one time. It seems like the last 2 or 3 years you see turkeys all over the place.
Turkeys have been a great success. They've come back in great numbers. They're becoming a nuisance in some areas. But if they have the proper woodland areas, they need woods. And with farming, also, they like the crop areas. And on the CRP ground, food plots, as long as they have food source and that cover in the woods, they do very well.
I have a question about hunting dogs. We talked about it before the ISRA break, but Bryan, what is the actual difference between a flusher and a pointer, and which dogs are flushers and which dogs are pointers?
Oh, the flushing dogs, when they get in the scent cone, they just kind of they rush in on the bird and make it fly. Pointing dog, when they're working a bird and they get in a scent cone, they stop and point, and they allow you to walk in front and flush the bird. A lot of your flushing breeds are labs, springers, golden retrievers. A lot of them are versatile. They're also a duck dog or a waterfowl dog. Your pointing breeds are German short hairs, English pointers, English setters, Brittany's. There's a wide variety of them.
Here's a question that has bugged me for years. When I first got Rocky, he came out of Canada, and he was partially trained, started on waterfowl, and pheasant. I took him up to Canada, and we went duck hunting, and he was 10 months old. So we took him up to Canada, and on one particular day, it was just a bad day for duck hunting. There's no way you're going to duck hunt. So the guy that I was up there, a friend of mine, says, let's go grouse hunting. And I go, Rocky wouldn't know a grouse from a tin can. I mean, he's a puppy, and he's been, duck. He goes, well, let's just try him. So we took him off onto a logging trail. Now, this is a dog who probably never seen a grouse in his life. We took him on a logging trail, and he kept walking on the road. And I go, get in there, get in the woods, and he'd go in, and he'd come right back out and walk on the road. And I was getting kind of angry. And then all of a sudden, he disappears, and out comes a grouse with him chasing it. I mean, how does a dog know? He doesn't chase crows. I mean, how do they know that?
It's just all smell. He'd chase a crow if it was on the ground.
You think so?
Oh, they do. A lot of guys train with pigeons. We train a lot of bird dogs with pigeons.
See, I never saw Rocky, and he was the only hunting dog I had. None of my other Goldens were ever hunting dogs. But I never saw Rocky go after anything other than what was a game bird.
I really don't have an answer for that. Most of your bird dogs, they'll point.
I'll be darned.
They'll point anything. Sparrows.
Yeah, puppies will. They'll point Tweety birds, we call them. When
Tweety birds.
Yeah, that's a nuisance out when you first start out in the field with them. They're young and foolish, and they just anything with feathers they want to point.
I do know the one drawback is you don't want your dog to get the scent of rabbit. You don't want him to kill a rabbit. At least I was told that you don't want to do that.
You would never want to shoot a rabbit for the dog. I mean, a lot of dogs will, today I was hunting this morning, and a setter that's 9 years old, she pointed 4 turkeys.
Is that right?
Yeah, so I just think it's just a game. They get bored or whatever. If there's rabbits, they'll chase rabbits. They'll smell them. You don't want to encourage it, but they'll do that.
And I think the thing, if we don't accomplish anything else on this show, the one thing I want to really stress is these dogs, this is their life. They're bred to hunt. You don't force them to hunt. They're not afraid of you. In fact, sometimes you got to hold them back. They get so excited. This is something they love to do. Am I right?
Yeah, it's hundreds of years of breeding. It's just in them. That's what they want to do.
So this notion where anti-hunting people say, you torture your dog to make him work for you. My God, I lay out hunting gear. My dog went nuts.
It's torture not to take him hunting.
Yeah, they live to hunt.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is, Timmy? We're going to come back here in a bit. The show will be over again.
All too soon.
All too soon. We will be back with more On Target Radio in just a few moments.
Yes, we will.
Hi, I'm David Lombardo, host of On Target Radio. You're living proof that radio advertising reaches listeners. In the 2 years I've been advertising on AM 560 WIND, Safer USA grew from 300 students a year to over 1,200. By coupling our On Target Radio broadcast with our Facebook page, we found our audience is steadily growing, and in only 2 months it appears we've exceeded 5,000 listeners. Over 34% are in the age group 25 to 34, 26% are 35 to 44. We have listeners from Rockford to Western Michigan and Southern Wisconsin to St. Louis. Thanks to live streaming on the internet, we also have listeners as far away as Germany, Japan, and New Zealand. On Target Radio is offering low-cost sponsorship opportunities on Chicago's premier conservative talk radio station. Advertising on AM 560 WIND has worked for Safer USA. Let me show you how it can work for you. Call 815-744-5487. Join the On Target Radio team today at 815-744-5487.
You're listening to On Target on AM 560 WIND with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more. To participate, call the studio at 312-642-5600.
And we're back with more On Target Radio. Our guests this evening are Nancy Donaldson, Mike Jacobson, and Bryan Camper. We're talking about upland hunting. And this is the big moment, guys. Tell people how they can get a hold of you.
I can be reached at 815.
Now, tell them what you are, Mike.
Hilltop Meadows Hunt Club.
Okay.
We're a year-round hunting club. Great place to come and hunt pheasants, quail, partridge. We also do turkey hunting, some deer hunting. We're a membership club, but we do offer non-member hunts on weekdays. We have half-day packages, full-day packages, 2-day, 3-night. We have lodging, 5-stand sporting clays.
If I wanted to go pheasant hunting, what would it cost me for a half a day hunt?
$275.
And that includes
everything: guide, dogs. We'll clean all your birds. You can bring 2 additional hunters with you if you'd like. We limit it to 3 in a group, and they would be half price each.
Nancy, we're going to have to go because you go there already.
Absolutely,
right?
I'm already a member. I hunt with Mike often.
Cool. So website, phone number?
HilltopMeadowsHuntClub.com, and the phone number is 815-535-1056.
Thank you. And Bryan?
I run Swift Rock Kennels. I train all pointing breeds. I sell several started dogs and trained dogs also, and we sell a lot of puppies. My number is 815-379-2431, or you can reach me on the web. Any search engine, if you just type in Swift Rock Kennels, mine will come up first.
Now, someone who wants to purchase a dog, it's not like going to Kmart and buying something off the shelf, right?
No, it is not. I will show you the dog. You can look at it. I have different, you can buy a puppy, started dogs, fully broke dogs. I would spend a lot of time with research and or watching the dog work.
Can you give any general price as to what it costs, puppy?
The puppies are usually $500 to $1,000. Started dogs about $2,500 to $3,500, and a broke dog's about $5,000.
What's the difference between a started dog and a broke dog?
A started dog is one that has probably been through all of its training, but it is, to me, there's several different people have all different ideas of started dogs. A started dog to me is one that's been through all the training, but has not been in a lot of hunting exposure, wild bird hunting.
So he's green.
Yep, he's a green broke dog.
Okay. Nancy, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And certainly Mike, Bryan, thank you for coming. We appreciate it. Tim, we want to invite our listeners to join us on December 15th.
Yeah, December 15th.
For home protection and concealed carry.
Yes, great class. Everybody that goes likes it.
New place. This we're breaking in a new place.
A new place.
Going to be in Elmhurst.
Elmhurst at the Masonic Lodge.
Masonic Lodge, that's right. So December 15th for our home protection concealed carry seminar. It will be in Elmhurst, and we'd love to have you there. It's also good for the Utah concealed carry permit, and if you do a little optional shooting, it's good for Florida, and it's good for the Chicago permit.
Yes, saferusa.com.
That is it. In the meantime, thanks to our guests again. Thanks to Vicki Cohen, our call screener, and George Hoffman on the board. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Illinois Gun Works, Chuck's Gun Shop, Pelcher's Shooter Supply, Illinois State Rifle Association, our website developer 31 Moons, and, of course, Safer USA. Next week, we are going to be talking about tactical training. And we have George Gary, who's from DMZ Tactical, David Hakim from Midwest Academy, and Karen Bartuch from Women's Tactical Association. So you won't want to miss that show. That's going to be very interesting.
It's going to be very exciting.
It is.
You like into that, you'll like talking to these guys.
You really will. This is the red meat crowd.
Yes.
Okay, this is definitely the red meat crowd. So they will be on next week. It should be a lot of fun talking to them. We will probably have to put them in seat belts to keep them down. Otherwise, that's it pretty much for tonight. From Tim and I, we'd like to thank you for listening, and we certainly hope that you will be back next Sunday at 9 p.m. for more On Target Radio. And thank you, Mike, for making it all possible. Good night, Timmy.
Good night, Dave. Thanks to Mom. She's watching. I see her on Facebook.
There you go.